there's anybody here for public comment, now would be a great time to address the board. Is there any public comment? Seeing and hearing none, move ahead to approval of the minutes. Or do we have minutes to approve or not?
Yes, for the 13th, Tuesday, I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second.
Okay, properly moved and second. Any discussion, additions, or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay. Under my agenda, I'm looking at, there's nothing here under new business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move ahead to old business, which basically is talking about the vote by mail processing room. Mike, do you want to address that?
Yes, and this is just to let everybody know on Tuesday of next week, I'm going to give a larger presentation to everybody about where we're at in terms of what it's going to look like, the volunteers we've recruited, the resources we're going to have, the backup planning, just so that everybody's aware of it because essentially we're 2 weeks away next week. And so I just want to go a little bit more in depth into that to answer any questions anybody might have on it. And, we can go from there. But we're in a great place. We've confirmed over 200 people. We have another 50 or 60 that are still waiting to get back to me on their eligibility, but we're in a really good position. I don't see any issues at this point. So we're in a good spot. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that, but if there are any questions at this point on that or anything you've heard, I'm happy to answer them or, go over anything at this point. But that's again, essentially that. I just wanted to.
Right. So, Mike, the one thing I've always been concerned about is having enough knowledgeable people at the site, sort of as whatever you want to call them, supervisors, pit bosses, crew leaders, whatever. But if we're going to have upwards of 50 people in that room at one time, one person to try to make sure everything's level loading, make sure everything's running through the process, and to answer 50 people's questions is nowhere near enough.
So essentially what we have is we have a total of 9 teams that are going to be in the room, and we are going to have a supervisor for each one that has either worked in the primary, so in the primary election they were in the room downstairs, or they received a specific training from myself related to what the role of each of those offices are. In addition, they will be required to come to the Penn Stater either on Sunday or Monday to receive an in-person, here's what's happening, here's what we're doing, with all the ins and outs of what each position is. And then on the day of, they will basically need to troubleshoot it at their level. And if they have a hair on fire thing, they would then bring it to somebody else who will be assisting me in the room. And if it's an additional hair on fire, it would then come to me. But the people who are managing each of those stations or supervising them have been through this before, either in that room or they've gotten a more in-depth training for what would be occurring.
So are they going to work like 12 hours?
Yes, yeah. So each of the people who are going to be quote unquote supervising are doing a 5 a.m. to a 9 p.m. shift, or a 6, depending on their position, a 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. Yes, so they will be there for 15 hours.
All right. That sounds good. I just didn't want
it'd be a long day.
Well, the nice thing is so Dean's Hall is going to act as our break room. And so anybody who needs to take a break, beverage, food, whatnot, they're going to have all the meals prepared for us in boxed lunches, have Penn Stater staff serving the meals, all of that good stuff. So breaks will be encouraged. The way we're setting it up is there's going to be at least 4 people for the surrounding teams. There's going to be 70 people opening up envelopes and opening up ballots, 70. They can take a break whenever they finish a packet, not a worry. But for the surrounding teams, we're going to have at least 4 people for every team. And it's basically 2 people doing the main work and then 2 people backing them up, assisting them. So anytime they need to take a break to refresh themselves, we're going to let it happen. There's again, we're accuracy, safety. There's no rush, not setting any world records, but yeah, we've got a backup to the backup to the backup in this case.
Well, that sounds good. I didn't want like you and one other person trying to manage 50 people at a pop.
No, the goal would be that nobody talks to me and I just have my binoculars looking out at everything and it's running smoothly.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay. In regard, anything else for the mail-in ballot room, or
that's it?
That's it.
Yep.
Has Jody made it into the room yet?
Yes, she joined us probably halfway through that discussion.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Jody, what's going on? Give us an update.
What would you like to know?
Everything.
So Jody, essentially the big thing that we've been getting questions on, and we just want to have, an answer to this, is related to poll watchers. And if you could just basically walk us through how a political party and a candidate get a certificate for being a poll watcher, and how many they're limited to at the county. And can they just go to a precinct? Can they do it for the whole county? What does that look like? Just so we're aware of what that looks like.
Sure, not a problem. For a candidate and a committee, what I request from them is a list of names and addresses for everyone they want to receive a watcher certificate for. Then I look them up and verify that they are a registered voter here in Centre County. And then I essentially just type up the watcher certificates, get them embossed, and then whoever is picking them up then comes in either to the front desk or typically to our office and signs that they picked up this many watcher certificates. Now, the number of watchers that one can have, you look here. So the way the law is stated, each candidate for election at any election shall be entitled to appoint 2 watchers for every election district. So that would be 2 per precinct in what their district is. So if you're a countywide candidate, it would be 2 per for the 88 precincts. If you would be in a legislative district, however many precincts are in that particular legislative district. Now, the political parties, they can appoint up to 3 watchers for each district. So, again, the same thing. If it's countywide, they can have 3 people per precinct. Or if it's a legislative district, congressional district, 3 per precinct in those areas. Now, what was the other? You had asked something else. How many they can have, how they receive them.
Yeah,
and what was the third thing?
So could a candidate say, I'd like to designate up to 2 people for the whole district, or do they have to do it per precinct?
No, they do not have to do it per precinct. That is another thing that I request that they indicate, is whether it's for a specific region, a specific precinct, or countywide. So depending upon, like, if it was a congressional district or legislative district, essentially they just ask for their whole district to be covered, as opposed to, one for every precinct. They typically have a handful, and I think they just roam around, between different precincts throughout the day. The only watcher certificates that have been requested so far have come from the Republican Party, and they're all countywide. In general, that's what the requests are. So then those watchers can float between any of the precincts within our county.
Okay.
How about the mail-in ballot room?
We just got, because I don't think that qualifies, or there's different provisions that qualify for them. And cheat sheet. That is something I'm going to have to look up, Steve, because I don't have it at my fingers' reach to talk on that, but I know the guidance that we received from the Department of State does give specific guidance on it.
So Jody, if I could, I pulled this up right here. This is the October 10th, I'm sorry, October 6th guidance from the Department of State they sent out on watchers. The way this reads,
I just got it.
you got it?
Go ahead.
Okay, no,
Yep,
you
yes,
have it.
go ahead, please.
Nope, you have it. Go ahead.
Well, you have it at your fingertips
Oh,
here. Okay.
All right. So yeah, on page 4, it talks about that Act 77 expressly specifies that one authorized representative for each candidate or political party must be permitted to remain in the room when the pre-canvassing is occurring. And so my understanding about how it works at a polling location is even though a political party or a candidate can designate multiple people for that precinct, only one person can be allowed in the room at the same time. So it's not as if the Democratic Party, Republican Party, even though they can do up to 3 per district, they can't have 3 in precinct 88 at the same time. They can only have one representative in the room at the same time. And same thing at the Penn Stater. It would be where an authorized representative from each of the political parties and the candidates would be allowed in, but they couldn't be, you can have like 2 people from the Democratic Party and there are 2 people from, one of the candidates. That's how I understand it. Is that right, Jody?
Yeah, looking at it here, that's what it states. You're exactly right how you indicated for each precinct, and then looking at the statement on page 4 of that guidance is exactly what it states, that only one authorized representative for each candidate and or party is permitted to be in the room. So you couldn't have 2 there on behalf of the Republican Party, 2, on behalf of the Green Party, so on and so forth, or 2 for an individual candidate.
So you can have multiple people with watcher certificates for the mail-in room, but only one can be in attendance at a time. Is that what I understand?
Correct. Like people can come and go. The watchers can come and go at their own leisure. There's nothing requiring them to be there for any length of time, or, if they want to be in there for 5 or 10 minutes and leave and, someone else come in, that is completely and totally allowable by the watchers' guidance. And that would apply to the pre-canvass and canvassing of the central count and at the polling locations as well.
So at the pre-canvass or at the Penn Stater, we have 12 tables with chairs on risers, and the risers are 2 feet up from the floor, and they're going to be surrounding the room. So if we do have any watchers that attend the pre-canvassing room, they'll be able to have a really good vantage point. And 12 we think is a good number. If the party sends somebody in, if the candidates do, typically the candidates don't really, maybe the presidentials do, but we think 12 is going to be plenty. If there are additional watchers that come at that time, we have chairs around the room that they could be able to sit at. They're going to be provided Wi-Fi access at the site if they needed to, get online. In addition, we're actually going to be having CNET film or live stream the vote by mail room from 3 different camera angles. And so if anybody can't make it out but would like to see the proceedings happen, they'll be able to do that. But the watchers will absolutely be welcomed into that room.
Michael, another thing that I would ask, that the not judges of elections, but the watchers, whenever they come into a location and they're stating that they're a watcher, they have to show their watcher certificate to someone to make sure it is indeed a legitimate certificate, because if it's not, they're not permitted to be there. So someone should kind of be monitoring them to ensure that they do have the watcher certificate and that it's an embossed watcher certificate for them to be inside.
Yes, we are going to have a registration team. It's going to be made up of 4 people throughout the day, and essentially their tasks will be to, number one, check in the workers that are working there, verify that that they're going to have to show ID in order to get into the room. Number two, they're going to be checking in media. If media would like to come in to take photographs or video or whatnot, they'll be able to check them in. And then thirdly, the watchers as well will check in with that table, and the registration team will be provided a list of all the watchers that have been given certificates, so that they have a list that they can compare that to, and again check check the certificates are valid. But absolutely, yes, the registration team is aware that they will be having that role on election day.
Okay, thank you.
Mike,
Well,
is there an end time? Do you have a proposed end time to counting on the first day?
We have shifts going until Wednesday at 5 p.m. if need be. So
Is it through the night?
if need be, I think that we're going to process a hell of a lot of ballots between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And then we'll probably have a little bit of a lull as we get the ballots from the elections office that have been collected through drop boxes, the mail, and/or returned to the Willowbank building by 8 o'clock. And so we'll probably pick things back up at about 9 o'clock, 9:30, and then I think we're really going to be done by 1 a.m. But we do have Wednesday pretty well staffed as well in case for whatever reason we need to count into Wednesday. As of right now, I think counting will stop at 1 a.m. because we'll be done. But if we need to proceed into Wednesday, we do have the 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. shift has been tough to recruit for. I think we have about 5 or 6 people who are going to be in the room at that point. But then at 5 a.m. it picks up, and then at 9 a.m. it really picks up. And so again, I think we'll be well staffed from that perspective.
Okay, thank you. I was asked. We just need to confirm that with CNET. I know you're doing that, Mike, confirming with CNET so that they have the coverage for the whole thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
one other question. If an individual wants to videotape the process, is there any confusion there that we need to avoid?
No, I mean, so one of the things we're going to be doing is, and I think we did this in the primary, was when the ballot extractors are removing the ballots from the inner envelope, the secrecy envelope, they will be instructed to lay the ballot face down. And from that standpoint, I think that, I think they should be fine. Videotaping would be fine. Watchers are actually instructed, and this is again in the guidance from the Department of State, they are not allowed to, I should say, where is it at here? They are not allowed to essentially provide, I guess, what the votes are or what the totals are prior. So I'm trying to see what the language is here. What they say is, I'm not finding it, but they basically can't say, I saw the ballots and there's going to be 100 votes for this candidate. They're not supposed to do that. So I think if we lay the ballots face down, I think it'll be, that'll be taken care of.
Michael, just to interject here, that wouldn't even be an option, because until, there's nothing on those machines that are going to tell you vote totals or anything like that. So until you would stop doing what you're doing, save or download those results onto a USB, which will not be in the machine while you're scanning those. So to extract those, there is nothing going to be at that site that will give anyone any results of any type.
To Michael's point, except that there might be individual ballots that are exposed to, eyes that may be able to perceive something.
Yeah, I think what Steve, the way that I was thinking about it, Steve, is so with the CNET cameras, they're going to be wide lens, so you're not going to be able to zoom in on what's happening. It's just going to give you the general sense of what's happening. You could have a watcher that could bring in a cell phone or a camera and could zoom in on a table or tables, and as people are opening the ballots, you could kind of see what the precinct number is, what the votes are, and so the way that if a poll watcher is at a polling location, they are not allowed to videotape or photograph voters. The challenge with this is we don't have any voters in the room in the vote by mail room. So, my thing is like I don't think a watcher is going to be there videotaping what's happening. Also, they'd have to videotape multiple people to have any semblance of what the results are. And I just think that's impractical from that standpoint. So I don't have any worry about there being any, results being leaked from the watchers are watching the ballot standpoint. And I think that the extractors are going to do a really good job of keeping those ballots face down and not having those exposed.
I think the other probably thing of interest to the watchers will be to make sure that the privacy envelope rules are being adhered.
Yes, I think that will be that. And if there's a signature on the back, we're taking care of that as the ballots are coming in. I would agree, Steve. That's going to be the big thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And again, I'm sorry, interjecting. And I believe I already shared it with you, Michael, but if not, I will forward to you. Yes, we do verify signatures here, but that is not a challengeable item. People cannot challenge other people's signatures. The only thing that can be challenged is a voter's residency.
Correct. And you'll be providing that morning, we will be providing a list of everybody that's voted by mail of the ballots we have in the room. I think that's a requirement of Act 77, right?
Yes, we do have to provide a list of absentee mail-in ballots, like who applied and who returned. So that's very similar to the list that we print out when we verify that all the ballots are accounted for that have been received.
So essentially, if anybody would want to, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, so essentially, the requirement I think was at a polling location prior to Act 77 passing, basically when the absentee ballots were opened up at the end of the night, the judge of elections or whomever would actually read out all the people who did that so that the watchers at that point could record who was voting by mail. The practicality of reading through 40,000 names, everybody agreed, let's not do that. So they basically said all you have to do is just provide a list. So we would have a list of all of those we'll print out 20 copies or whatnot, and any watcher who would like to request one, we can give it to them for their records.
Would it make sense if we collated kind of a list of do's and don'ts for the poll watcher so we don't have any confusion on Election Day? Or
that comes
is that
from
self-explanatory?
We don't do anything with training the watchers. We have absolutely nothing to do with that. Typically, the party.
I'm not talking about training the watchers. I'm talking about do's and don'ts on Election Day. In other words, if somebody comes in and starts doing something, you can point to it and say, "This is not appropriate behavior. Look at number 5. There it is."
I think, Steve, to go to that point, I know what you're saying, Jody, where we don't want the liability of having the trained watchers. I think when they pick up the certificates, if we give them a copy of this guidance from the Department of State and just say this would be for your records, we're going to be providing this to our poll workers, to our vote by mail room. We just want to give you a copy so you're familiar with it. I think that would be a good way where we're not on the hook, but we are providing them some type of information that allows them to know, again, the do's and the don'ts. And I think the guidance it's 3 pages, 3.5 pages of text, very clear language. It gives them a lot of good boundaries. It says what they can do, what they can't do. They can't engage in electioneering while inside the polling place or within 10 feet. And, they can't solicit votes, all that good stuff. So I think that would be a good middle ground. If you're comfortable printing out a few copies, Jody, and just giving it to the folks when they pick up their certificates, I think that'd be my recommendation.
Well, we've always had that information in the judge's envelope for the past 16 years that I've been here. So they'll get an updated version of that. So the poll workers, they've always had access to that. And I have no problem giving it to the people that come in to pick up these certificates.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Anything else to come before the board this afternoon before any other discussion or questions or issues that we need to address?
The only thing I wanted to just give a quick rundown on, and this will take 60 seconds, is what's happening with the vote by mail. And because the office is getting swamped with calls from people asking where their ballots are at. And the answer that we've been providing to them that's available on our social media as of last night and on our website as of last night is essentially where an email that was sent out on October 3rd that alerted the people that their ballots were being printed was really their barcode was being printed on their envelopes. Then what happened from the 5th to the 12th of October, Monday to Monday, was their ballots, secrecy envelope, return envelope, and instructions were being packaged. It was the first batch was taken to the post office on the 10th, and the post office in Pittsburgh has received subsequent batches, and voters have begun to get those materials on the 13th. So if anybody asks, where are my ballots, we've put that information out there. I think most people have taken a deep breath. They're getting their ballots. We just are the ballot return team for the drop boxes just returned 600 ballots from the drop boxes today. And so it's certainly picking up. And so just to give an update in terms of where we're at with that, people have been concerned, where's my ballot? But I have a pretty good confidence level that by Saturday, anybody who requested a ballot before October 1st, October or September 30th would be getting their ballot. And then we've got maybe another 4,000 or so ballots that will be going out next week in that next shipment. So just a quick update on where we're at with that, just for everybody's heads up.
All right. So you've been in contact with Midwest to make sure that everybody knows where we are in the process?
Yes. Midwest has given us a final update last night saying that the full first shipment of ballots that were created, about 29,000, have been delivered to the Pittsburgh post office, and are making their way out to Center County residents. Yep. And there have been issues here and there. One person didn't have a secrecy envelope. They can call into the office. We can get them a secrecy envelope. But there have been no issues like other counties have experienced.
That's very encouraging. I know Allegheny County apparently had some very big challenges. So hopefully we are not among that elite group.
No, I don't think so.
Good. All right. Anything else to come before the board this afternoon? If not, is there a motion to adjourn the election board meeting at 1:33?
I'll make the motion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Last call for discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mark? I'm presuming that's all three of us, right? I don't know if I heard Mark.
Steve?
Okay.
We're adjourned?
Yep. Okay, we're adjourned. All right. Thank you.